Hey everybody, this is JDGaming back today with another episode of Get Better at Yu-Gi-Oh! Now recently I've been looking a lot more into the OCG side of things ever since I came back from a family trip over to South Korea where I was able to pick up some OCG cards. Whether it was because the OCG nostalgic cards were much cheaper and accessible, or it was just cool new and upcoming stuff I was able to pick up to test out in my decks, I just thought it was a really cool experience being able to use some of those OCG cards. And it got me thinking, we are shamelessly not using the information available to us that could honestly serve as a crystal ball of sorts for information within this game. Whether you are a casual or competitive player, a vendor, or a collector, you can get a lot of useful information that's available to you from the OCG. And today I want to talk about two major areas that you should focus on that will help you make the most out of the cards and allow you to get the most out of this game. If you think about it, a trading card game has two main areas. One, you gotta get cards to do whatever with, and two, you're probably playing the game, so you want to know what you want to play. Let's look first at the general atmosphere of Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays, the community is much more solidly founded, and we have a lot more information available to us than way back when I started playing. You had to call stores to buy cards or stop in person. You had to go and check out monthly magazines in the bookstores to be able to actually tell what decks were competitive or anything, because until metagame.com a few years later, and really nowadays Yu-Gi-tubing, in the last 10 years or so, you didn't have a lot of information available to you regarding this game. And sites like YG Organization, a site that I'm not affiliated with in any way, but I just think is an amazing site worth looking into, we're able to get leaks on cards and information about deck lists and everything months in advance of their events happening over here in the TCG. And that's just phenomenal. If you take a look at the rarities set compositions over in the OCG, we'll take a look at specifics like Struggling Battle, or Evenly Matched, and Pot of Cupidity, or Pot of Desires from the OCG. We found out about those two super rares in the OCG months before their releases in Circuit Break and in Dark Illusion. And you look at them in TCG and you're like, they're secrets. Komani, you trying to rip me off or something? Well, first of all, I do want to mention, I think this is widely known that Konami has to function as a business, and honestly, they are catering to a much different culture and scale when it comes to the TCG. To get to all the players in the fan base of the TCG, they have to make Yu-Gi-Oh! A competitive product that vendors want to provide for us. No vendors wanting to pick up the expensive cards that are able to sell and keep their businesses thriving means those products will no longer be necessary, won't be produced, and you can't play your game. So honestly, as much as it sucks that a lot of these cards end up being much more expensive than is reasonable at times, Ash Blossom, but you need to make sure that you realize we have this game in the first place because it is a system that works in the TCG, even if it's not optimal. So it's easy to see a super rare in the OCG and think, it's a secret here. That's a money-making jerk move over there, Konami. But you have to realize those super rares were also secret rares in the OCG as well. OCG kind of has our old style of ultimate rare and ghost rare for alternate rarities still present in their sets, and those super rares had both available rarities from the get-go. What that means is those cards are the first targets for Konami to go ahead and take a look at for, what card should we make a secret rare in the TCG? You look at random cards like Overdone Burial, that was also a super that became a secret. You look at amazing cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, or Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, way before those other hand traps followed suit, and before Ghost Ogre was considered better than Effect Failure. And you would see that same pattern. A super rare is also available as a secret rare, and it ends up becoming the next big thing. So if you're able to pick up a card in the TCG that happened to be an OCG super and secret, very good chances, in fact, that that card is going to be very popular and very powerful. So take a second look at those and see, why did Konami make this a secret rare? This is probably not a junk one. I may want to hang on to it if I got it easily. I may want to get some more if I am able to find that I can trade for it or buy it for really cheap with like an early special or whatever. Other things you want to consider are what sets are transferred over. Recently, we've had special booster packs that have the SP designation in the OCG for things like high-speed riders and wing raiders that ultimately end up over here in the TCG. We've also had deck build packs for things like Spirit Warriors, and those with that prefix tend to be the sets that are brought over entirely from the OCG as our versions of high-speed riders, wing raiders, and Spirit Warriors. We get those secret and super all-foil packs from the OCG. Other sets like Link Frames pack, it's easy to think, oh, well, this follows the pattern, right? Well, honestly, there are many cases in the OCG where they'll get a special set like that, and we don't get anything like that. But it didn't follow that SP or deck build or other type of pattern where we've had an example in the TCG as a direct import. So honestly, it was a total crapshoot. We might have seen a Link Frames pack in TCG, and that would have been nice, but there was no evidence in the past to back up that that set was going to be imported like the others because it didn't follow the same pattern. So again, as much as I hate to say it, and as much as I'm still looking forward to all those cards, you have to realize that patterns exist and you can take advantage of those. Patterns may not be present in other areas, and that's where you have to start thinking, why is the reason that this pattern is not being kept? Is it even something that we can count on over here? The next area I want to talk about is the competitive aspect or casual aspect, the viability of decks in the OCG. YG Organization, I have to mention them again, does an amazing job going through with deck lists for various events, and they're able to go ahead and actually tally up all the cards for you from most used to least used within those winning deck lists. And that's amazing because you get two vital pieces of information. One, you get to see what cards are the most represented. So that means you get to know what decks, archetypes, engines, or cards are the most likely to succeed and why they're played. And two, you'll have a better idea for how much of a demand is there for these cards. So how much do I really want to look on to hanging on to some of those cards that I pulled based on the rarities we just discussed. So looking at the archetypes, cards, etc. that are most viable, it's obvious that when you look at the OCG and you see Junishishi or Zodiac dominating the OCG landscape, and Spirals with Double Helix soon after, that those are most likely to be the dominant forces when they come to the TCG as well. Granted, there are some differences, like we have different Forbidden and Limited lists, different card pools entirely because of what sets are available, and OCG players tend to have a completely different play style and set of preferences than us in different areas of the TCG. So differences exist. But when a card, deck, archetype, or engine has a high power level in the OCG, and a lot of those cards, or all the cards, or in some cases like the Destrudo engine with Terraforming, have more cards available to us in the TCG, we can expect those cards to make a huge impact over here. So that's what we want to pick up. That's what we want to expect we will be using. That's what we want to practice months in advance before we need to play in a tournament with them. So if you look again at that Destrudo engine, you look at Destrudo, it's a rare. Looking at its effect in a vacuum, you pay half your life for a tuner monster, and you think, why would I want to play this rare card that's apparently not very good because I'm paying half my life? But taking a look at the OCG lists holistically with the Ancient Fairy Dragon and the field spells, and maybe seeing some OCG play through YouTube videos or articles you can get translated, you're able to see, hey, this engine has a very high utility ceiling as a field spell engine, and I might want to take a look at that in not only Spirals and ABCs over here, but any deck I have here that might be able to take advantage of consistently searching my field spells. And it gives you that type of knowledge that you may not have had before. You can then practice with Destrudo or with Spirals months before they're released in the TCG, and when the set drops, you are going to be in the top level of play because there are going to be some people who have heard about the deck, built it, but don't have all the practice that you were able to put into it. And of course, a large number of people who've simply never seen it before and kind of just go into events casually, regardless of whether they really want to win or not, who haven't prepared for that new strategy as much as you have. It gives you a huge competitive edge. And it works even if you're not a player who wants to spend an arm and a leg to build the most competitive deck. If you want to play an archetype and it's not consistently showing top placements over in OCG, it's a lot safer candidate to look into on a budget, because that deck may not be the most expensive sought after thing over in the TCG. Doesn't mean that the deck's totally unviable in a local or even regional level, because a lot of decks have the capability to do decently well, especially when people aren't paying attention to it. But it'll at least give you some idea of, hey, this set might be more expensive than my budget will allow. I want to look into something else, and then you won't be as disappointed when it comes over to the TCG. Of course, there are exceptions to this as well, as with everything else. Trickstars and Magical Musketeers or Magibullets ended up getting some rarity bumps, but nonetheless, you can at least kind of see, hey, you know, the decks that weren't seeing a lot of top play in OCG tend to mellow out over time in the TCG, whether or not right now there happens to be hype around a particular card or archetype. And finally, the big thing, remember that when you have this card, like Ghost Ogre, is played at 3 in every OCG deck, main and side combined, or Ash Blossom is like that, Max C is like that, whatever. Those are cards you want to hang on to. Hopefully you'll recognize it before it becomes a trend in the TCG, and then you'll be able to invest your trading or your money into getting those cards, hang on to your copies, and then get more out of them later. So that's all I have for this video. Again, as a general recap, we are basically looking at ways you can get cards more easily and decide what decks you want to play, and really the OCG provides a lot of that information for us. If there's anything that I didn't talk about in this video that you wish I would have, let me know down in the comments below, and if there's good enough material and interest in it, I can always incorporate it into some follow-up discussion to this. And of course, let me know what you think about the video right here. So that's gonna do it for now. Thanks guys, this is JDGaming. Hope you guys enjoyed as always, and I'll see you guys next time. That's the end of this video, but if you enjoyed it, I encourage you guys to leave a like and share it so we could spread the video to as many other people who may enjoy the content as well. If you like this series, you can see more of it by clicking the video annotation on the right, or you can click the one on the left to see the last video I did. And if you really enjoyed what you saw today, then I invite you guys to subscribe to JDGaming to see more Yu-Gi-Oh updates. Thanks guys, this is JDGaming. Hope you guys enjoyed as always, and I'll see you guys next time.